Hey guys, Ben here from Second Dynasty. We are doing a regular Friday stream. Hopefully, you're not hearing any music at the moment. No, good, it's muted. Because for once, I do have my headphones on and I actually am listening to music at the same time, which I've been talking about now for ages. Yeah, last night we had our Christmas party here at work. It was very mysig, which is kind of a Swedish word that I guess means more like cozy. Um, and yeah, we got done at 5 a.m. this morning. I slept on the sofa here at work. Uh, Albin just popped in about 5 minutes ago to help with some of the cleanup. And it's going to be a very loose stream. I imagine, anyway, a lot of people are on their way to celebrate Christmas, if they do indeed celebrate Christmas, which means we can probably expect a few less people today. So, what I'd really like to get done today is finish up the Beowulf miniature. Let me just turn off the lines here. So, John kindly made this destroyed version where he basically merged all the pieces into something we can print as a single piece. And let me just see. Wait, who got drunk and kissed Benjamin and under the mistletoe? We don't do mistletoe here. So let me get to the close-up. Here is a quick print of the 1 to 270 version. One thing you might notice is there's a bit of a size difference here. Let's see, I've got to line these up properly. So there you go. These are held side by side. So I knew my Beowulf was a bit longer than the standard model. So I don't know quite what's going on there, if that's right or not. It's approximate. I think we're not going to worry about that too much. I may need to measure things and see if we need to scale stuff down a little bit, but for now we're going to put out this version. I trust John and his mathematics. He's usually pretty good about these things. So I've just imported in a couple of other files here that we can sort of fix up the turrets and whatnot. An all-nighter. It was pretty much an all-nighter, but we didn't really do anything other than talk. So I know my voice usually is a bit wrecked by the end of a session, but tonight it's wrecked before we even begin. So we'll see. But I get to listen to some music and hang out with you glorious people on this stream. So I just got done with the turret. A few things have changed, like I integrated the barrel. I also added in the filament hole right there. Obviously the barrels will need some supports, but that's been the case with all the turrets that we've been doing. Let's see. I wonder if there's a way to get the chat further over. Let's see. I've started printing Beowulf hull today. Oh, the actual ship. Very nice. Very nice. Are you doing that on the P1P? It will be interesting to see how fast you can produce a ship, because one of the most exciting things for me with that is the fact that obviously anyone who has printed our ships knows that it takes an awful long time to do so. A matter of weeks rather than days. I don't think you'll get the Beowulf down to days, but a lot fewer weeks than would otherwise be required. So had you started with one of those machines, it may have been possible to get it printed by Christmas when we did the release. I feel like I'm just going around in circles here. Oh, I put the lighting on. That was a bad mistake. So basically the session's going to go like this. We're going to make this hull so it works. Oh god, I forgot to turn that off again. There we go. We need to also kill the messages for an hour. Right, so yes, I am my usual chirpy self today. I mean, we took all the precautions to reduce the effects of a hangover, but I'm 42. There's only so much you can do. So we're missing a hole down here. We're missing a hole in the hull up here. If I just lift up this turret a little, whoops. Should be able to see where I just dropped this ring. And I assume that we need to center this a bit. It looks fairly centered, to be honest. I don't know how that worked out as well as it did, but because we want to kind of align it to the middle, but it can be very hard to see exactly where the middle of the circle is. I think it's there. So let's align it up here. Is that right? Best to look from the top-down view, I think. Oh, good. Yeah, that worked. There we go. Oh, and of course we need to turn back on the lines here. So maybe the easiest thing to do is to actually go over to here. And then I think we can see it's actually this next one down. Yeah, that looks like it. Alright, it's a little curve there and a little curve there. If this is off a tiny bit, it's not going to kill us, but I'm trying to do my best. How's everyone doing today? Let's see, was meant to be traveling down to Sussex today. Gut has decided otherwise. And with the rail strike tomorrow, that means that we'll be spending Christmas at home. Is the rail strike actually happening? That sucks that you can't be with family, Tamsin. X-Wing scale has always been 270-ish. Yeah, the smaller fighters are a little bit larger. Artist difference, I've started... Well, it's not just an artist difference thing, it's also my Beowulf. We know that it's actually got an interior, right? Pulsifier is going on about how the P1P is insanely fast. Type S took me about 5 weeks or almost 24/7 printing. That sounds about right. Would take me a bit less time now that I've tuned the printer and profiles for good, speedy, quality mix. The filament used to connect the turret won't be perfectly straight anyways. That's true. I'll be 24/7. The hull is until the hull is done. It's going to be cool seeing the 3MF plates print right for once. Yeah, I need to do 3MF plates for everything above Deck C, but I don't think I'll be doing that this week. We've kind of said we're not working next week, but I don't know if that means I'm not working or if I'm just going to do some light stuff. We'll see. I'm sometimes a very bad boy. Just going to drop this down to here so we can find it. Next time it's a copy. And when working with meshes with lots of faces, sometimes it does take a while for things to process. So let's just grab this, mesh, combine, and then we want to recreate the geometry here. I'm not at all bothered about Engon's, well, I mean, I am, but I just am going to triangulate everything, so we're not too worried. I'm just going to put a standard shader on this. For some reason, Lambert 1 is black in this scene. I need to change that. Let's see. This is a horrible scene. This model needs a new name. Rare. Not ideal, but... Okay, so why is this black? It's connected to something. That makes no sense. So we're just going to break connection, and there we go. We've got our standard shader back. Let's grab the bottom bit. Cleaning house later in case the weather lets up to allow family over. Hoping for the weather. Oh, that's right. There's a huge big snow issue, isn't there, in the US? Um, Surprise Starfighter. We'll see. I mean, if anything, I would get started on the next one, but probably more like the stuff I talked about, where it's like maybe I'll do some version of like the bottom chimera tiles that can take a support rod instead or something like that. I don't know. I considered doing that yesterday when I got here. Um, yeah, hasn't been called off yet. Not the first time I've flown solo for Christmas. Had the flu in 2019. 2020 was lockdown. At least we got together last year. Um, I'll be back. Got to take my dog to the vet. I hope your dog's all right, mate. Um, yeah, got to take care of the doggo. All right. So, John had the support rod here, and I've actually moved it. And the way I check my models for future reference is I combine them together, and then what I've done is actually used a tool that's under analysis. This is Mesh Mixer. It's a free program available from Autodesk. And after you've imported your mesh in and reoriented it to where you want it to be, I've got it simulating a print bed that's the same as a Prusa. But I wonder if I can just turn this off altogether. Oh well. I don't think the last version that they actually had a Prusa printer. So it's a bit annoying because I want to see the bottom here. And navigation is not exactly how I want it. But if I now go to the stability tab under analysis, what that does is it looks at the geometry and looks at where the center point is weight wise. So when I'm placing a support rod or something like that, this is what I look at. Now there is a bit of guesstimation, and the reason for that is you can see right here the line in the hole where we've got the fore and the aft being clipped together. And if we look at this in Maya, you can see there's a bunch of clip holes here. So what's going to happen is, even though the unclipped version has a center point that's like right here, just slightly back from the turret, so this was too far forward, so it would have been back heavy. I've moved it almost to, actually I've moved it to here, basically. So it actually threads through one of the clip holes. I don't think you actually need this clip hole, so either you can have it just stop a little bit earlier than it normally would, or just not have a clip there. But the plastic from these, 6 clips around it is going to affect the weight. And if we had the center point there, like where it's meant to be, well, you can kind of see that the clips, because the halfway point here are a bit further back, you've got additional weight that would also make it back heavy. So this is to counterbalance that. So, oh, why is mine not working? I'm guessing it might be auto-saving. Yes, it is. Which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So, now the side effect, however, of having this here means that we can now have a turret back. We can flip this 180 degrees. There we go, 270 it says now. And we're basically just going to try and center it to this turret point. So again, what I might do is just look for the middle point. Let's see. We need these objects. This might be hard to see. Again, I'd say that the middle point is there. So it needs to come down just a tad. Let's put it here so we can kind of see. Which one's straighter? That looks right. And then we just move it to the middle. It looks a bit off to me. Why is that? Because it is it? Oh, there's something else going on there. Okay, I guess that's right. Actually, we can move this to the middle. Is all of this off center? I don't know. I'm a little bit suspicious now. Look at that. That looks off center too. Oh, this is a nightmare. Oh no. Oh dear. That's not good at all. It looks like this isn't properly aligned to the grid, which means that our hex here is also not aligned to the grid. Question is this flat enough that we can, or is it? This is a challenge. Sorry if this is not the most riveting of sessions. I mean, that looks kind of centered to... Where's the center point of this line? There. Ugh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm suspicious. I assume that these clip holes are in the middle. If I add some geometry here... So... Don't know why that's not working. Okay, no idea why that's not centering. But the point was I wanted the vertexes here, so I'm just going to see about getting these to snap to this middle point. So, I don't know, maybe we can combine these so it's not too bad, but... So, the question is, if this moves over, it's wrong. It did move. Okay, so that means it is centered. Whew! But... Why is that not centered? It's not just perspective, right? It looks wrong. But it's straight here. This is confusing. John, what is happening? The clip holes can't be aligned right. Is that right? Let's see. Let's take this. Oh, this is not fun. It's at such a scale that it might not matter, but if I move this and align it to the center point of the ship here... Yep, it's not aligned correctly. Fuck. Why? Oh, John. You give me Christmas headaches. Oh, God. We should technically be able to move this on the grid now. No? What is going on? Because this has to be the center of the ship right there. Right, we've got this clear line in the middle section. 7 clips is probably... It's definitely overkill. It's definitely overkill. And in fact, if you want to make sure the balance works out, that's the way to do it, I guess. So what are we going to do to correct this? I think we start by moving the center point here. And then we actually move this to the grid so it is centered. Right? And then... I'm wondering if we can get away with just moving all of these right over. Because I think it's a flat part of the ship. If we're lucky, it is. So first, sorry, I'm going to just isolate the area I want to work with. So I'm not selecting anything unnecessary. Let's see, something like that. Is that going to cut it? Let's do this. So just isolating these, and the reason for it is that it makes it easier to not select things we don't want to move, right? So I think it might be easy to just grab everything around it. Because really it's just the shape of the hexagon that we need to move. And it's not a huge amount we need to move it. This makes for riveting watching. John's not actually Q. I'm sure he's run off. Hungover band trying to center this thing feels like a small kitten trying to figure out how to cat. Oh, thank you. What a compliment. Maybe I shouldn't have streamed at all. There are a couple of the things here that really need some modification. So again, we want to move everything except for this line. I really hope this is going to work out. Because the top part should already be changed. No? Maybe not. Oh, we'll move that separately. Still got this pathetic cough. Okay, that looks like it's everything. Oh, what's that big hole? I wonder if that's in the major version. Okay, so God, why didn't we move the top first? Well, I mean, this is now aligned, so we just technically just do this, right? And hope for the best here. I mean, that looks... There's one slight issue here. But that's not what I'd call a major issue. That's just a case, actually, of moving this up there. And then... why is this a different material? That's odd. So, vertex... No. What am I doing? I want this all to be Lambert 1. Okay, whatever. Let's select these vertexes. And we just want to center this again using the grid. Brain don't work no more. Very good. Not so good in the sense that we're going to have to change a lot of things. Because now these are not lining up correctly either. So I thought this might be a shorter session, but it doesn't look like it. Oh, wait. Oh, that's good news, isn't it? Only the front part was not aligned to the back part. But, oh, the clip holes were not lined up though. Were they? No. Oh, God. Okay, that's moved over. Pathetic cough. Okay. Yeah, it was a big night last night. We got stuck into, I had some IPAs, and the best thing was breaking out the cherry wine. That always is a big night. Normals issue. There's probably some normals issues going on. I mean, this whole mesh is a bit effed. This Engon thing here, for example, that shouldn't be there. Whatever that face thing is it on here? So yeah, this is totally wrong. And again, like the operations that, like, I'm thankful that John can get it to this state. But you can see that the Engons that created were incorrect, so we need to make these into triangles. But we're still going to have to line these up properly and make sure everything is actually on the grid. So let's just briefly look and see if this is centered. It looks fairly close, but might be slightly off. Because this line in the middle, yep, okay, this is off as well. Yay! So, because again, I know my original mesh that this is the center line here, and you can see it's just off by like a tiny fraction. There we go. But does that mean that this is also off? Oh good, I was worried that that would work out. Oh, I'm in the wrong view. The turret matters less. So let's just, I feel like there was a better way to select these things and I just can't for the life of me remember it right now. My brain is not operating at a functional level. Alright, so that's centered at least now. Again, we need to maybe look at realigning the clips. My goal was going to be to get this done for the end of this session, so we'll see. I thought, oh, I'll use the rest of the session to render and make a finished product. Like, I've got the... Oh, this is the wrong one anyway, I've realized. God, where are my mini factory ones? There, and then add-ons, exclusive add-ons. There we go. So it's this one that we've got to change, obviously. So it won't be January, or rather, I think the only reasonable thing today is to get the 270 version out. I think the other ones are write-offs. These are the clip holes. They may not be perfectly centered, but as long as the center ones are and that they actually match up, it's so marginal I don't think it matters. So now we go back to the operation we were actually trying to do before we discovered this abomination. And we know that this is actually already centered. And question was it centered over here? And the answer is yes, because we haven't moved anything. So I think we can safely then just lower this to match that. There we go. And mesh combine. We're going to immediately delete the history because it makes a mess. And we're going to create some Engons after a simple bridge. Here we go. Engon. Mine now has this bug that occasionally the shader changes to something it's not supposed to be. So now I'm going to do an infill. And there we go. Alright, so we have a turret port in 2 different positions. You know what? I might make this a bit deeper. We'll let it be. We'll let it be. I think it's fine. The stands were incorrect, so I've switched out the stand for the one it's supposed to be, so we now have that centered. We're not showing the turret on the bottom. We can put that there. Now let's turn off that and we can kind of compare. So I'm going to get rid of the instead Beowulf. I'm going to hide this because we've replaced it with the correct stand. We might want a wider base on it, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to test print this again now. But I think, this will be a good size. And we have this shader we want to apply, and I have a feeling it has a really weird name. Oh, there we go again. Come on, what's going on there? Why can I not? So, okay, so we want hull gray printed Z AI stand as the shader. This one. So it should be orange. And now we switch our cameras to not orthographic. We want like a perspective 1, I think. Actually, we can probably change the angle here, and we want to make the render, let's see, 2K square. So I'm just going to do a little trick here to see the full square by widening my, what's it called it? My outliner. And if we look at the product, we can kind of see that what we've got to work with. The logos are on the left side. So we probably want to make this be more, well, that'll just go slightly over the edge. So I think this will be fine. I don't think we need to do anything to this right now. So let's go ahead and render this. Now, I am a bit fearful that this might affect the stream, so we will see. Let's see, file, save. You always want to save your scene, especially if Maya is a fickle mistress. I want to, let's see, which one is it? This one is our campaign, so that's a fine, in case it crashes, I guess we can fall back to Photoshop. There we go. So I'm going to go into my Arnold shader. Wait, which version am I in? Okay, so I'm in my Arnold renderer, and I am going to test render it. So this is the moment of truth to see if everything is going to stream like we hope it is going to. I don't know that anything's actually happening. Why is nothing happening? Something is happening because I can't do anything in Maya. I can't move the screen around or anything. So that's probably a good thing. Probably. One thing we can try is doing the task manager. And Maya is here. You can see it's not responding, but actually we can also see that it's doing something, right? Very good. So the question is, how long do I let that go on? Oh, OBS is taking a lot of my GPU, it looks, so maybe we should try killing the render. Oh, I don't know if we can. The small base is going to yeah, probably. It depends how well it's balanced, but I don't know, do we have like some kind of other base? Let's see, stands. We do have the heavy stand. Maybe I can do a variant of the stand. Let's see. Oh, god damn it, Maya. So I'm going to call this a crashed Maya. And this has been doing this a lot for me lately, so I'm just going to end the task and restart it in a sec. And we're going to try CPU rendering instead. Because by now we should have something up. The scene's not that big. Glad to see Windows is still the dumpster fire it was a few decades ago. I mean, why like reinvent the wheel when you've got a huge big code base from Windows version 1 that you can just build upon? Let's see. Is this the right project? Beowulf ship miniatures, render stills. That sounds right. So, what do we do about this? Well, for one thing, we wait until it loads in. Two, we probably want to kill... Oh, what's going on? Now, Photoshop's not opening. Okay, so we should probably actually kill Photoshop as a process right now because, yeah, I don't trust it. Let's see. So let's go to render settings again, and this time we'll go to Arnold and System and switch to CPU, which is unfortunate, but sometimes if you just switch from one to the other, it works well. So let's try this again. No messages coming up, but I can't hear the computer working hard either. So I don't know. What can we try? We can try using an IPR. Basically, there's some kind of buffer that I think doesn't usually get closed off between crashes. Four processes. This is like a big part of figuring out Maya. Is like working out all the crashes. Let's try this again. Alright, sorry about this business. Let's see. See, the scene loads fairly quickly. We can try getting rid of some of the old models, maybe. I don't know where that would be affecting things. I think it's got like more geometry to process, maybe, because I do have like a hidden original version of this ship, I think. Let's see, where is that group 172? Why is that a separate object? Let's see. I've got the Pathfinder in here as well, apparently. No, it just was in there. Okay, so the question is if it's better to just not have the small one for now. So I'm just gonna hide that, and I'm gonna hide the stand. And hopefully, I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry, guys. Just the one this time, apparently. We need to change this back to CPU again. Maybe it's in the render settings. Not this. I mean, in the Arnold. Let's see. What test resolution is at 100%? Okay, well that's not weird. What if I try and turn on the IPR? Okay, I turn that on and it's working all of a sudden. So usually if you get that to kick it off, it changes the frame buffer. And now if I hit render, you can see it's actually rendering. So that's excellent. Although that's CPU. Let me let me risk it. Okay, so if the stream goes down into Y, let's switch this back to GPU and refresh. And the rendering, it is saying it's rendering now, so brilliant. And you might see like a degradation in the quality of the stream. I'm not sure. Let me know. Gave up on Maya for Cinema 4D 2 years ago. I don't blame you for that. The thing is, Maya is comfortable for me, and I paid for it. So, the question is, okay, this is starting to work. Before we get into a render that's clearly going to take like 6 minutes or something, I'm going to cancel that, and we're just going to bring back in the little one and see if it will render. Is it the problem? Is it the problem? It's not rendering now. Oh my god, it's a problem, isn't it? Okay. Alright, here we go. We're going to crash it again. We should probably kill Mesh Mixer too, now that we've figured that out. Maya is loading once more. So what I'm just going to do is do a cheat version where I grab the 3 elements from our larger version and basically shrink them down to the size of the existing one. Alright, let's see. We're loading in. Maya is also hungover today, apparently. Okay, so we've got our 3 or 4 sections, rather. I'm going to group these, and we're going to call it Beowulf 270. We're just going to duplicate. And then we'll name that Tactical. And then if we're really lucky, we're not really lucky. Where are we? Yeah, the group says 0.07. Nah, I think I'm just going to rescale it myself. So let's center the pivot. We'll just move it to approximately where we think this one is. And then basically we shrink it down until it's approximately the same size. Maybe a tiny bit more. That looks just about right. Slightly too big. Whoops, I didn't. Like, that's pretty close. Let's call that 0.32. Yeah, that's more or less perfect. I'm actually going to make this thing a bit thicker for the small one, because that's going to reflect what we're actually looking at. And I'm actually only going to change it in 2 different scales here, not the third. So it'll be a little bit fatter, so it will actually print. And then we're just going to get rid again of this offending group. And we're going to hope for the best. So let's see. Move Tactical forward a little bit, so that we more or less line it up. There we go. That looks more representative of what we should expect. I think this actually needs to be like 2 and 2. It's like a chibi version. It looks very suspicious too. But yes, actually, why is that hanging out so much? It doesn't look right. Oh, it's hovering. It is hovering. So, or is John wanting this to be a separate part? I'm a little confused. It shouldn't be. So we're gonna just manually position it like there. That should be right. There we go. Right, that should be fine. We want to make an interesting composition again, something like this. Again, before we do anything, we're going to save the scene. Stream was working fine before, that's good to know. So I just go in here and I'm going to turn on the... This is the kind of renderer where it automatically updates the scene and just continuously does a new pass every time. It's what we call IPR. And now I'm going to switch... what are these warnings? Maybe it has something to do with it. And now I'm going to switch to a proper render. And this time we've got it going. Okay, good. So our composition looks like... I think we want to change it slightly to be a little bit more like this. Or is the problem that this isn't the same camera? Perspective shape. We're on perspective 1 shape. There we go. Okay. We're finally off to the races. It only took us 10 minutes of fiddling around. But that is the nature of things. Let's see if there's anything happening in the chat. What about them, some Zodani troopers for a stretch goal? For a stretch goal? We're not doing any stretch goals. The campaign finished a long time ago now. Your Imperial Marine does need something to fight. I don't honestly know what we're going to do. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know if we're doing very much travel in the future. If we do, it'll be smaller stuff. We might collaborate with some sculptors to do some smaller products. There's maybe some additional instead ships we could potentially convert. But the thing is, if we do individual products, it's probably harder to sell. It's easier to sell a collection at a discount than it is to sell individual items. But basically, at the end of the day, the 28mm ships, we're not turning a profit on them. Not on the Traveller ones. The extra time it takes to convert an existing deck plan to something that works in 3D, it's contributing a little bit too much to our overhead costs. We did very well in the campaign. It's not that, but if you line up what we bought in the actual Kickstarter, you deduct 20% off that, something like that. Once all our fees and that are taken care of, and that's what we keep. But if you look at what the production costs were to get the ship to that point, we're actually in a deficit. It was basically we had to borrow money to get to launch day. We were using the funds from the Starship miniatures to fund it, and they just didn't stretch far enough. The ships are really good. I'm happy with the quality of the product, but at the end of the day, there's just not enough people buying them. And we've explained this before. If there were 2,000 backers, we could have sold the ship for like $50 instead of 75. But we can't hit that 1,000 backer mark. We've never hit 1,000 backers on anything. And it's understandable this time of the year. It could have also been a factor. We can't help it. This ship did go about 3 months over when we wanted it to be done. Ideally, it should have been a 5-month build. So yeah, there's that aspect to things. Now, things like Zodani soldiers would be fairly, small scale, but that would be a case if we work with a sculptor that is good at making that kind of armor. So probably like Kayoshiniko, for example. If we were going for something more organic, we'd probably go for like that Blasted Summer Flange, if it's like an alien or something like that. So it varies. But again, those kind of products too do rely on us, doing... I mean, that's still a consultancy fee. We're paying to get someone to sculpt something for us, right? So when we look at the smaller products, I mean, something like a modular cutter would make more sense because I think we could knock it out in like a month. But at the end of the day, we need to try doing some of our own stuff again for a little bit and see what the response is. Because you never know this day and age if it's the market or if it's what it is. But I would still like to do some more in the future. But yeah, at the end of the day, if you need an alien that looks like a cube, I might be able to help out as well. Yeah. Sorry to hear, but not surprising. Now, I know. Look, guys, I know. I'm not trying to be depressing about it. It's just these are the cold hard facts. We can't sustain our business if we like made an A2 far trader, for example, because it would take us another 8 months to get it done and to market, and then say we have to sell it for the same sort of price as the Beowulf, and there's another 650 wonderful people that back it, but we're still in the same position where we've had to go into debt to make it that far. We can't keep doing it. It's as simple as that. Not to the level of quality that we do. And even if the Far Trader would probably be a little bit of a simpler ship to design because its shape is a little bit more, a little less finicky than a Beowulf, it's still, one of those things. I mean, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm happy with what we've done. It's just what we've done is not enough to say, okay, we can make the next traveler ship. That and the fact that really a 200-ton ship is too big to print at 28 mil, and I'm not prepared to switch scales at this point in time to 15 mil. All of our stuff is in 28. Excited for some originals as well. That I am happy to hear, because I'd really like to do some. And in fact, that's what the Firefly's been about. We're going to do some more Starfighters. We're going to have a new Starfighter pack that will probably launch on Frontiers at some time in like March. And there'll be other new stuff that you haven't seen. Well, you guys might see it here. But it won't all be Tribes exclusive. I've said it before, but Traveler is such a small niche. I think if you were on board with Mongoose as well, it could help, but still a small niche. Look, I'm quite sure I could get on board with Mongoose, but then that would mean that I'm paying fees to Kickstarter, a royalty to Mark Miller, and a royalty to Mongoose. And again, at the end of the day, there's just not been enough. There's just not been enough evidence to say that there's enough people there that are interested. Our best campaign backer-wise is still Sleipnir. Even though it didn't bring in the same amount of money as this last campaign came in, we had over 900 backers. And that was expand style. It was still a cheaper ship because it only took us 5 or 6 months to design. And yeah, that was, the best sort of campaign we've had, like reaching the most amount of people. I mean, it can't be that difficult to write up some ship specs for whatever settings ourselves. I've been thinking about this lately because I've been working on my own sort of setting for a long time. My problem with Traveler for what I do for making ships for it is the fact that the ships are, you have this huge hop from 100 tons to 200 tons, and they're much, much bigger ships. If it was more like on a Star Wars sort of scale, where you're doing like a 35-meter freighter instead of, a 50-meter freighter, there's a huge big difference in size there. So I kind of want like a version of Traveler, but where the ships are like half the size, essentially. Maybe it could be done with like Cepheus. I know there's an OGL for Traveler, but I mean Cepheus is based on that too. but it would require some like restructuring of how the ship systems work, basically. Um, and then the other thing too is, it's not my taste to say like, oh, you're limited by how many turrets you can mount on this thing. Like, if you've got a beam weaponry, there is absolutely no reason why you can't like stuff 10 lasers onto a Beowulf platform, and just the whole ship is just like power generators powering it, right? There's no logical reason for the reduction. It's like an artificial thing. And also, you can't have fighters where it's like, oh, they've got multiple armaments. So let's see. Star Wars would be super easy. A disc in 2 cylinders. They all look the same, anyways. I don't know about that. Ben's originals sound like hard candy. um, in my setting, I made it that everything is done with smaller ships. I mean, that makes sense. So, oh, you meant Star Trek? Yep. It's just a disc in 2 cylinders. Yeah, 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 yeah. That I agree with. Star Wars is more about shoeboxes, um, and wedges. In theory, it could be done. Reduce jump fuel requirements, size of bridge. There's no real reason apart from what the books say that you couldn't do at smaller jump ships. I think it would be pretty easy to just have like an adaptation, basically use the same rules. I love character generation in Traveller. I like what Cepheus brings because you get like the talents which add a little bit of heroicism to the system. Because like I'm more inclined towards like anime style weapons and that sort of thing. So let's see. We're done with the image. Let's save the image. Let's see. What are we in? Traveler images. I'm just gonna call this Beowulf 270.exr, and I'm just gonna save out a PNG as well. Let's see. There it was. We'll just change this to PNG. Can't we save this as Photoshop anymore? Huh. Oh well. EXR will work fine. So we're going to save this up. And we're going to go into Photoshop again. I'm going to close down Maya. Let's see. What about making other Traveller things like more aliens, tanks, fighters, or what I would really like to see is a Sodani Trooper? I get that, all ones. I would also like to see the Zodani Troopers. I think they look cool. They kind of remind me of Zentradi. However, the license I have is directly with Mark Miller, and the material that I've got access to is also kind of somewhat restricted. So let's see, I need to change this image, and let's just go for a relink to file, and I need to find this in my images folder. Oh, that's for Starship 5, Traveller 1, there we go, images. We're gonna have to wrap things up pretty soon because I promised my wife I would be home early for Christmas. There we go, 270.exr as transparency. Wow, it is big. It is very big. We need to rescale this thing. But that was intentional, right? I wish there was an easier way to scale down large images in Photoshop. Okay, we're almost there. This is going to need a few more modifications, size-wise. So, we put it somewhere like there, we maybe make it slightly larger. Something like that, and then we actually place it over the top of these logos, so it's... What? Why didn't that work? Okay, tactical symbols. There we go. So it's actually shading a little bit there. We can leave the concept readers thing here. We want to go to images, adjustments, and then levels. No, exposure. Because we'll put the exposure up to... Let's try 1. That is way too bright. So let's put it at 0.5. And then we're getting a little bit more highlights. It's just not as blank as it used to be. So let's click OK. And you can see here that the shading has this kind of reddish tone. You can see in Maya that I've got the same sort of similar background. This will do for our purposes. And then we just save this and do an export to JPEG because my Mini Factory for some reason doesn't like PNGs. And then we want to make sure we're exporting this to the right folder. So where are we? We want to be in Traveler 3, Frontiers, Add-ons, Exclusive, and then we'll just put like Release. So again, the tactical isn't coming today. Have a Merry Christmas, Olermans. Let's see, Space Quest. Traveler is just way too crunchy in my opinion. I love the character generation, but I'm not enough to hardcore play it. I don't think it is that crunchy. Not Mongoose or Cepheus. T5 is ridiculous. But you could technically take like the core of that. What I'm not sure I'm totally in love with is the 2d6 system, but I don't know. These are just wild thoughts. So at 100% this looks better, obviously. There is still a bit of noise. I wonder if I forgot to turn off the denoiser, but put on the denoiser. But this will do for now. We have the graphic. Oh, I'm an idiot. We need to go back into Maya because we need to export it. But you know what, guys? I'm gonna do that off camera. So before I go, we'll be back next week at some point, maybe just to do a kind of end of year wrap up thing. If nothing else, I'll release a video. And the important thing is that whether or not you celebrate Christmas, it's a sort of time of the year where we don't have Thanksgiving, so it's our time to sort of like be thankful for what you have and reflect on the year. And I'm just thankful for all of you guys that you have supported us, got us through 2022, and I feel confident going into 2023 that we can find a new direction together. We're not going to create new stuff in a vacuum. There will be follow-ups. We want more community feedback in 2023 to make sure that we're just going in a direction that the majority of people actually are interested in. And we'll probably do quite a few more collaborations. So I'm going to go export this now. Let's finish things up. I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas if you do celebrate it.